So, okay, so we're good to go now. So, welcome everyone. My name is Laurie McNaughton. I am the founder of Scale Up Business Solutions. Listen, if you're a small business owner who started out full of energy, ambition, and big dreams, this episode is for you. Most people start a business thinking about freedom, and then the reality hits long hours, constant decisions, and it feels like everything depends on you. Today, I'm sitting down with someone who has lived that journey and then taken it several steps further. He originally built a business called Altitude Installations. We worked together through a period of real growth and transformation. And since then, he's gone on to buy and build 4 or 5 additional businesses. And that's what makes this conversation so powerful. This isn't about theory, this is a lived experience. In this episode, we're going to unpack the biggest lessons he's learned building businesses, building teams, letting go of control, and avoiding the mistakes that trap most business owners. If you've ever thought there has to be a better way, you're going to want to listen to this all the way through. I'm excited about this conversation because it's with someone who didn't just build one business and stop. He kept going, kept learning, and kept evolving as an owner. Dirk Apon, welcome to the show.
Hi, Lori. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Appreciate
you
it.
betcha. Cool. I'm looking forward to it. So let's just start out with why did you decide to become an entrepreneur?
Uh, I think originally it's because I have a bit of a contrarian way of thinking to begin with. I kind of was always a bit of a rebellious person by nature. And so conforming wasn't a fit. So I think originally it was about having anonymity and the ability to be creative and think through your own problems the way you want to think through them. Um, And then from there, I think it became an outlet. I studied art originally, and so it kind of became a bit of a creative outlet, even though it doesn't sound like it would be because it's numbers and sales and that kind of thing. But you get to construct this thing yourself, and so that I think that's what really drew me to building companies or doing this. Yeah,
Cool. I
yeah.
like that answer. Um, Being an artist, because when you're an artist, you're creating something. I don't think there's a lot of difference when it comes to building a business. Um, so why don't you just dive in a little bit deeper on that? What kind of art did you do, and how
Oh,
does it sort of cross over and apply?
well, I liked fine art, and so I studied working with oil paintings, and so I studied the masters, which is like people like Johannes Vermeer, and he had a painting principle or painting methodology that you started with this underpainting. You started with the base, and that base, based off of the color of the underpainting that you're choosing, is what's going to kind of vibrantly give the feel through the other colors that you start layering on top and the more detail that you layer on top. So if you want something that has a cool mood or a warm mood, you might use yellow ochre for a warm mood, or you might use another color for a softer or cooler tone. And so but then from there, it's kind of this methodology of there's a bunch of rules, and then once you kind of know the rules and the principles, then you can start to break them and bend them and make it your own, right? And that really does um, parallel business in general. Like there are certain things that you just need to do. Like you need to have a certain base. You need to understand cash. You need to understand people and management of people. But once you have a certain level of comfort with those things, then you can really start to you could you can change the way you treat people versus another business. You could be like one of these tech companies that have hammocks everywhere. I don't know, but it's that's where you get to start to bend it. But you can't go there if the basics aren't being followed, right?
Yeah, I think that's a good analogy. Foundation of a successful business is systems and processes and people.
Yeah.
And and I always talk about, and you know this because we've talked about this many times, the vision, the mission, and the core values is really the guiding principle, the guiding foundation. And that's kind of what you're talking about with the painting part of it is like there's the pieces that you got to start with. And if you
Correct.
start
Yeah.
with those things, the picture emerges from there. It's the same thing with business, really.
Yeah, it is. And like the the thing is, if you learn how to track those things, I think that's the hardest part when you start a business or you're starting to do this stuff because you're in the business, you're working inside of it. You are the a lot of the times you are the carpenter who's putting installing the deck, and then you're also invoicing the customer, and like is you're doing all of it, right? And so in that circumstance, you don't normally get the time to build systems to measure the adjustments you're making or to track how well you're really doing or and how well you are following the basics and how well you are following the monochromatic underpainting, like knowing how well you're doing that. It's like you do have to that's I think that's why so many small businesses do end up failing is they get burnt out from doing everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah. There's only so long you can work every day of the week,
right. Yeah.
where you kind of go, okay, I'm going to go get a job.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, and that's that thing, like, that's why there's these pretty well-known markers, right? There's that 0 to 500,000, and then there seems to be a ceiling there, some glass ceiling there, right? And then there's a 500,000 to 2 million, and then there's another glass ceiling there, right? And then from 2 million, a lot of the times you'll go right to 10 from there.
Yeah.
Um, and that's because of it is because of these things. It's where those are the points where you're taking the basics and you now have to break the rules or break the norm that your regular norm that you had. And that's the only way you're going to go from 500 to 2. And then at 2, what's normal or what you're doing isn't going to work to get you to 10. The basics are still there, but you're going to have to break out of your comfort zone again, break out of, and most of the time the solution is people, um, the who's, not the hows, but that's like it really does mimic a lot of the same thoughts in my
Yeah.
head.
Yeah, for sure. And I just want to reiterate a point that you made earlier, and that's about measuring. When I first got into coaching, one of the things they said is you can't improve what you don't measure.
Is it
Like
right? Yeah.
if you don't know what the norm is, how do you know if what you did changed anything if you're not measuring it?
Right. Or how do you know there's a red flag, right? Usually, um, usually there's a, well, I think when we were working together, we talked about leading and lagging indicators, right? And those leading indicators, how do you know they're blinking red if you're not measuring them? But
Yeah,
by the time you react because you weren't measuring them, quite often your company's probably bankrupt or
yeah,
you're becoming insolvent or whatever it is, or you just lost one of your biggest customers because there's a lot of indicators that you were going to lose that customer, but you didn't react to it early enough because you
right.
weren't measuring maybe customer satisfaction or whatever, right?
Yeah, very important.
Yeah.
Um, I was looking at this and talking about the cycle of that sort of business owner, when they start out. It's like, hey, I am so excited. I'm so pumped up. I'm going to create this amazing business and, we're going to have this amazing team. It's going to this amazing lifestyle for my family and for my team. And then maybe a year, maybe between a year and 2 years, you start to get tired of the long days, working all the time. Maybe you haven't had a vacation. And so doubt starts to creep in. And when that doubt starts to creep in, it just kind of grows and grows. And typically, what we see in the stats point this out is that somewhere between 2 and 5 years, that's when the vast majority of businesses fail. And I think you hit the nail on the head. It's not so much that they weren't kind of making money; it's just that they plain burnt out from working
Mhm.
too much.
Right. And again, uh, like there's a control thing that happens, I think, mentally. You start the business, it's yours. Um, and it's really hard for a lot of entrepreneurs to give up control. And I feel like one of the things I really learned in the last, I would say, last 2 years has been the who part. Um, in the beginning, you feel like you almost have to be the smartest person in the room, and you almost have to be the best person, and so what happens is you end up surrounding yourself with people that are inferior, probably in thought process and things like that. Not because you're egotistical, it's just that's what kind of happens, like subconsciously.
Yeah.
Um,
You kind of hold
but
them down too, don't you?
right, you do, and so then, but what I think the big one is so you don't get burnt out is I think a lot of entrepreneurs don't understand that they might have to take a pay cut, and that's really hard to accept. It's really hard to kind of go like, you mean I'm gonna have to make less? Um, but you might have to sacrifice a bit of your income for a very short period of time to bring in the right who, because that who is probably the difference uh, between measuring all that stuff or between your uh, keeping you allowing you, let's say you're the better salesperson because you're the CEO, you should be the better salesperson. Um, if you hire the right who operationally, then all of a sudden now you're free to make more sales and you're able to scale and you're also less burnt out because you're not thinking about all
Everything.
those day-to-day mechanisms of your business,
Yeah.
right? But it's scary to go, I'm gonna have to allocate 90 to $100,000 or $80,000 to this operator or this other person, and that's coming out of my personal pocket. This is the first
Yeah.
thing you think of. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
For sure.
yeah.
So Altitude was your first business, right?
No, I had a small like surveying and
Oh,
company or whatever, and that was that was a big learning experience. When I think about what I was selling at that time, if I knew what I knew now, I think that company at the I probably would have be still in that company. I probably would have made a lot of money, um, just because it was such a technical business. And usually when it's niched down like that, you can really make it sing. Hindsight, but learned a lot there. And then that's how I met all the people that I met in the industry that I met for Altitude, and that's
okay.
so then myself and Clint uh, launched Altitude, and it was just it's a labor business that provides uh, glass solutions and labor solutions for the fenestration uh, landscape in the Vancouver area, right? And so we started that in the heart of COVID-19, and uh, which probably sounded pretty reckless, but it was it was good. We went from 700,000 in the first year, then 1.2, then 1.3, and then just under two, and then this past year or whatever, like I think we were at 3.6, and like you are growing, you're growing the volume, and um, but we desperately uh, needed some coaching and guidance, and that's why I reached out to you at the time. Was just to get some direction of thought, and also some accountability. Um, so, uh, but yeah, that's the first. I think that would be the first business that I would call a real business was Altitude for sure, because the other one was really like an owner operator, just almost like being a subcontractor, right?
Right. Right. So when you look back at Altitude and your growth through that period of time, obviously some nice growth. When did things really start to change for you, and what changed you as an owner?
Um, Knowledge, I think. So I think when we first started it, it was very much just going through what we knew and talking to people we knew. Um, and we got work and we looked at business a certain way. And then I knew there was shortcomings, so then I did reach out to yourself, and we started working together. We for that for that year, and I think the big change came from kind of unlocking the brain. Like so, working with you kind of unlocked my my want to learn,
Mhm.
and and then once I learned a little bit, then that became another weapon. So then you wanted to learn more, and then it was another weapon, and then you just kept building up this arsenal. And so I think that's really what unleashed the change is it was books, was reading, was learning, and podcasts, and surrounding yourself with people that were at that next stage,
Yeah,
like people that already were at the $10 million mark, or people that already were bought and sold three companies or whatever that is, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really good point because in that, when I talked about the life cycle of a business owner, like that 2 to 5 years is when most of them burn out. And the ones that go on and succeed are the ones that start learning. So, you know, kudos to you, my friend. I know when we started working together, you started reading, and that's one of the things that made my job a whole lot easier, uh, was because you were open and willing to learn and grow. And listen, if you're stuck in your business and you're working all the time and you're frustrated, stop doing that, start learning.
Yeah. Yeah. Just even if it's audiobooks at first, like if you're, you don't have a lot of time on your hands, so while you're driving, listen to an audiobook,
Yeah,
right? Um,
yeah,
like it it's not that hard. But it's there's a lot of unbelievable tools out there, like right behind you. I see probably five of the books that I read at least, and they're even if you take 10% out of each one of them, this is it's just another weapon at your disposal.
yeah,
Um, and the other thing is a lot of them have their own a lot of them are written by entrepreneurs. And so then a lot of them have their own story in there. And so you start to realize, oh yeah, that guy was pretty well insolvent at this point, and that guy he didn't just luck into this. Like usually, what you end up finding out about the guys that are making it is they made it because they did show resilience. They didn't quit when it's that time that you feel like you need to quit. That you didn't quit. You pushed through, or you found another uh, resource to get through. Right. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Very cool. And that is like that thing that's just, okay, I'm stuck. I could quit or I could learn what I need to learn in order to get through this. And then it allows you, it's like you said earlier, like you get to that 2 or 3 million, all of a sudden grow, well, it's probably three over two, probably closer to three, where growth just starts to happen because you've set up systems and processes and you've looked at who did I hire and why did I hire them, and set up KPIs and all that kind of stuff. And all of a sudden it just starts to come way easier.
Hmm.
So what do you recognize now that maybe you didn't recognize back then? And I know this is just a question, just to drill down a little deeper for those people listening.
Um, I think the big one is it's okay to not know everything. Um, and then the other one I think is that positivity. I, but it's just really, really easy not to kind of get into this everything sucks or this negative uh, perspective. And I think having a more positive outlook, really focusing on and visualizing the end goal, the stuff that I just wasn't doing before. Um, and that's kind of that guiding light that kind of will get you through the shit, for lack of a better
Yeah.
word. Like it is the sometimes that you're going, okay, this is painful, this is hard, but it's for this. And
Yeah.
it's this positive outcome that you're looking at. Alex Hermosi talks about it a little bit. He says, kind of mentions, don't set goals you're not willing to make the sacrifices to make, right?
Yeah.
And
Good, good lesson.
it is, right? Like a lot of us are like, I want to make $5 million. Well, are you willing not to see your kids for the next 6 months? And are you willing to sacrifice your golfing trips with your buddies? Are you like, yeah, I want this, but what is it going to take out of me? And are you willing to do that? But
Yeah.
so then when that is really difficult and you're struggling because you're not having fun, it's really a lot of heavy lifting. You're going, oh no, this is what I was willing to sacrifice for this season of my life to reach this goal.
Yeah.
Right. And I didn't have that in the beginning. I was very just kind of like wandering around
Yeah.
aimlessly. Right.
I think it
So,
was Robert Cialdini. Wrote a book called Influence. I think that's the guy that would, but he statistically, uh, people who are optimistic, they live longer and they have happier lives and they're more successful than those people who are pessimistic. And so
right.
I think that's a really good lesson for people to understand. Like, I know that it's hard sometimes. You know that it's hard sometimes, but the payoff is so worth it. So worth it.
And it's okay to fake it.
Fake it till you make it.
It's okay to be like, you're sitting in your car, you're staring at the windshield outside the office, going, oh my God, another day. And
I've
it's
been
so
there.
right. And it's okay to be like, just breathe and be like, okay, open the door, walk in, smiling. Even if that smile is taking everything out of you to smile as you go and say hello to everybody as you're walking by, the people that work for you. And then and then if you have an office door that you can close, you can shut that door and be like, oh, just for a second, right? But it's okay to just to fake it in certain circumstances. But the one thing you can't do is um, and I'm guilty of it so bad all the time because I'm an emotional person, so I wear it on my sleeves all the time. But is like you really should try not to be showing it at all costs. Do not show that doldrum to your team if you can, even when you
Yeah.
are in the dumps. Like
Yeah.
try to do it in private. It's okay to be in that space, but just make sure you're
Yeah.
not showing it to everybody else. So
Yeah.
uh,
Because energy is contagious.
it is. It's there's they call it like the way you be or the way you be when you show up into a room, like what you bring into the room. And so
Yeah.
when you're the leader, specifically when you're the leader, you don't want to be bringing in that negativity into the room. You like it. It's even that much more impactful to the whole entire team. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So where would you, from outsider, looking outside of the business and saying, where do you see where business owners often become a bottleneck in their own company?
Um, well, the biggest one is thinking that they're the only one that can do it, thinking that they're the only one that's smart enough to do it, thinking they're the only one that knows how to, they're the only one that knows how to pack a moving truck. So they're the in charge of the moving team, but they're also the one packing it. Well, I'm sorry, you're not going to have time to do business development if you're on every move, if that's what you own a moving company. Um, it it's really dying to your ego is the biggest for the like that's what it is. Like you really have to kill that son of a bitch and understand that there's people that are better than you in almost every aspect of what you do.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
then
It's true.
there's going to be a better salesperson, or there's going to be a better packer, there's going to be a better coder, there's going to be a better uh, communicator, there's going to be a better, and it's okay.
In fact, it's good.
It's actually great, right? So, um, it's fine to not be the best person in the company. You don't have to be the best person in the company. You are the visionary. That's all you are. You're the person that
Yeah.
has the vision and the goal of where you want it to go. And so I think, yeah, the biggest mistake that a small business owner makes is they're unwilling to hand it over. They're unwilling to admit to themselves that somebody else could be better at this. And then they're not willing to take the time to train that person or onboard that person to do it. Um,
Yeah.
And I think if they were honest with themselves, a huge chunk of it is financial. And they're not really being honest with themselves that it's like, oh man, if I spend that money, that's part of my dividend I would normally take. And,
Yeah.
but yeah, so,
Yeah. Money is leverage.
mhm.
You can hire somebody to do the stuff that you could pay somebody $20 an hour to do, so that you can go out and do the things that are worth $500 an hour or $1,000 an hour. But if you don't offload that and create some leverage in your business, and you're stuck doing that and the other thing. And like we talked about earlier, all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, I don't know that I can keep this up.
And it is leverage, right? So, all, uh, all the entrepreneurs that I follow and I read and listen to their podcasts or listen to them speak at events and stuff, the really successful ones have all figured this out. They've all figured out that if it's a task that is not worth my time, my hourly time, unless it's something I just really enjoy, like it's fine. Like if for let's say you take solace in sweeping the shop floor, it's a time that you can take to, and really it's a time for you to think, but you just enjoy, a redundant task to, center yourself, fine. But then it's the centering is really what the value is. It's not the sweeping, right?
Yeah.
But when you're
Yeah.
doing a redundant task that could be done by somebody for less money so that you can concentrate on making a $2 million deal, well, yeah, that's what all the big guys are doing. They all understand that their time is worth $3,300 an hour. They understand that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So next question is, what was the hardest thing for you to let go?
Control of control of how it's communicated. It sounds strange, right? Like I have my goal and my vision, and I like being a cowboy. I like being a bit off the beaten path or a little bit unconventional and radical. What I realized is that that works for me, but a huge segment of the population need security, need predictability, need really, really just descriptive job descriptions and roles and responsibilities. And so the hardest thing for me was to kind of realize that not everybody likes my way of doing it or likes that reckless kind of cowboy. And so what I did is I brought in a CEO that is the complete opposite of myself in that regard, right?
Yeah.
And he brings the process, he brings the professionalism that I don't bring. And just you have to be honest with yourself. I'm not I'm not that guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
There's something I learned from Tony Robbins back in the 90s. He talked about the six human needs, and two of them were certainty and uncertainty. So certain that I can pay my bills, but uncertain enough that I'm growing and learning, because growth is one of the six human needs as well. Now, if you have employees, they want to know whether they're winning or they're losing. and they don't
Right.
want to learn that they're losing by having a meeting with someone who's unhappy with their performance versus, okay, if I do this and get this done and do all this and I show up regular and I do all this stuff, I'm winning.
Right.
So that gives them a level of certainty. But then you also want to challenge them just enough to get them to continue to grow and learn.
Right.
So you both built the business and you bought businesses. What surprised you most about the buying process of existing businesses?
I think what surprised me the most is how much easier than it is than people I think realize. Um, it's stressful. It's a lot of work. Um, and the negotiations can be um, emotional, right? But ultimately, you end up usually getting something that is so much further ahead of a startup, right? They usually have a ton of stuff in place. They usually have a customer base. They usually have a processes. And even if their processes kind of suck, but they still have processes. It's not like you're reinventing everything. You can now take a process that's kind of, it's like, oh yeah, it's all right. It can be better, but at least you have a foundation, then you can make those tweaks.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a lot easier. I think it's a lot easier than people think. I think we're in an age right now where there's one of the largest wealth transfers our in our lifetime occurring, and I want to be positioning myself to be on the receiving end of that wealth transfer, which is a lot of really good businesses that have been operating for years and they have no succession plan whatsoever. So uh, we've positioned ourselves to be that succession plan and
Yeah.
create a system to take them on. And so I would say it just gets easier and easier as well. Like
Yeah.
as you evaluate, you start getting really good at looking at a P&L statement and knowing exactly, or a balance sheet and knowing exactly what that business is.
Yeah.
You can smell out or suss out the crap really quick as you get on. But I think it's a lot easier, I think, than starting your own business. Um,
Yeah.
I, I'll if anybody wants to argue with me, they can, but I'm 100% certain it's easier than starting your own business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Brad Sugar is one of my mentors who taught me everything I know about helping business owners. Talked about like buying and building and then selling businesses. And he says, you look for a business it's doing okay, but there's a bunch of systems and processes that are not in place. So it's doing
Mhm.
okay. How will it do with the right businesses and processes and people in place? And boom, all of a sudden you take something, let's just say for argument's sake, it's, doing 1 million with, maybe 4% net profit. But it's got a nice foundation like you talked about. It's got customers, it's got some team, all that kind of stuff. And then you go in and put systems and processes and you build it to 3 million at say uh 10% net profit. Now all of a sudden you've got something that you can sell and profit off of.
Right. And so one of the mentors I have, he talked to me about, like, when it comes to the business buying and selling, he said always always buy the business knowing who you're selling it to. So when you say knowing who you're going to sell it to, that doesn't mean it's like I'm selling it to Kyle, right? But it
Right.
means the avatar that you're selling it to. Like, are you planning on selling it to VC or something big like that, or um, is it something where an industry partner would likely buy you out because you're starting to cut their grass and you're just getting in the way of them making money, so they're just gonna make the acquisition to make you go away, and
Yeah.
that's fine too. Um, but yeah, it's very much like you should always be building a business from scratch or buying one with who am I selling this to in mind. I
Yeah.
think way too many entrepreneurs think about the starting of the business without thinking about how do I get out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a book I read long, long time ago called The Right Exit Strategy. And the right is WRITH,
Hmm.
because that's the guy's name. But he talked about, that's sort of what you're talking about is you got to have the end in mind when you start or when you go to decide you're going to buy something or build something. And he talked a really good story about two guys that partnered up and they built a tech firm of something. This is back before the tech bubble and built this thing up to, I don't know, 20, $30 million a year, maybe more. I can't remember exactly. And the one partner, he said, let's sell this thing now. Let's take what we, move on. And the other guy said, no, I'm gonna continue to do this. And so he bought out the other guy. So he walked away with a nice big chunk of change. And the guy that bought the business from him went into the tech bubble and lost everything. So, knowing, okay, if I build this business to whatever, and I could sell it tomorrow for this amount of money, and this would be satisfying to me, then just execute on that. And then go ahead and do it again if you want.
Well, and I think that's the big one, and that's where partners become a problem. A lot of the times, it's just that that's just another person with another perspective and another view, right? So it doesn't mean they're bad people or whatever, but their win and your win aren't going to be the same. Like no matter how aligned two people are, like you're not going to be exactly the same that win that thing. So if you are doing um, a purchase with a partner, or you're starting something with a partner, I think knowing what the exit is and writing it down, like
Yeah.
writing it down, saying that when we reach $5 million in recurring revenue and we have a net of 15%. Um, let's offload this, and our perfect buyer would be somebody, a competition in the industry, or and because then you're going to target that person's grass too, so that they do want to buy you, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're doing waste removal and you're in an area that has one company's been there forever, and then you come in and start doing it better, and you're just cutting their grass, you might get a seven figure buyout thrown at you. But you kind of have to have a little bit of that idea in your mind. Um, and because otherwise, yeah, with partners, as the years go on, if you've never actually had your exit strategy at the start, you do get into situations like a friend of mine where he has multiple partners. He's like, we're at the peak, like we should be selling, but the other two don't. You're kind of stuck, right? Like you'd have to shotgun them. It's going to get ugly and like it, yeah, not good.
Yeah. I think it's always important if you're in a partnership that you set up these clauses before you start doing business so that it isn't emotional.
Mhm.
If you go, okay, if at some point somebody wants to buy somebody out, this is the process, or somebody wants to sell, this is the process that we go through. So it doesn't become emotional. Um, how important are systems to allowing you to own multiple businesses? This is a good question for those people who want to own multiple businesses.
Oh, it's absolutely critical. So we have a philosophy. It's technology, process, people. So people, process, technology. But we solve every problem in that order. So it's always, will technology solve this problem? Question. Then if that's not, will process solve this problem? Okay, no. And then the last resort is, will a person solve this problem? Do we need the right
Yeah.
who to solve the problem? And so that is a process. Like that's just a three thing, but it's important to have kind of these, they can be cute, they don't have to be cute, but these decision matrices you have to have it because if you don't have that decision tree or matrix figured out before you start doing this and onboarding a bunch, uh, it's really hard. It's going
Chaos.
to be hard. Yeah, and it's going to be hard to hold your managers accountable because you're giving them that same thing. It's like you have a problem within the business you're operating as a manager. Your first solution is there a technology that can solve it? The second solution is there a process that can solve it? Then the third one is you're coming to me saying, "Hey, Dirk, I need to hire X for this
Yeah.
amount of," right?
Yeah.
So I think, but overall processes are absolutely critical. Having channels of communication, so whether you want to use Slack or whether you want to use whatever software we use, Slack, and we have um, every business has communication channels in Slack, which allow me at a high level to know what's happening communication wise because I'm in every single group, but it's not like a WhatsApp or something where it's just like beep 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 beep. Like I can just click into these conversations, review them. I can see the shared working documents that they're working on to work through things. I can, and so at a high level, I can go, okay, I like the direction. And so once in a while, I will interject into the conversation, maybe highlight something, and be like, why? Why is this not possible? Or
Yeah.
could we not try this? And then just put it back in there.
Yeah. What could we
Right.
do?
But that's again a process you need a place to communicate if you're going to have all these moving parts. Um,
Yeah.
and I would say you're not going to do it if you're going to do multiple visits. You're not going to do it without really, really good managers. So building a process for hiring is probably one of the first things is going, what is the personality type? What is the avatar for a manager within the Dirk group of companies? Like
Yeah.
what does that person look like as a human being? Because that's going to dictate how free you are to add more. If you're having to babysit that manager, if you're having to step in nonstop to hold their hand, then that's going to stall your growth, right? And
Yeah.
we want to add another 10 companies, right? So okay, how do you add another 10 companies to your group if you don't have the businesses you already have, if they're not just pretty self-sufficient, just running, right?
Yeah.
So,
Good point. Good point.
yeah,
I just want to check on time wise with you because the discussion is really good. I'm really enjoying it. But I also know that you have businesses to run, but I've
yeah,
only gotten partway into my questions.
yeah, go ahead. I think I have an 11:15. So,
Well, we will be done by 10:30 for sure.
okay, yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I put a
so,
bit of cushion there because I know we go on a runaway sometimes. So,
but it's a good runway.
yeah, yeah.
So you touched on hiring there. So what are some of the mistakes that people make hiring?
I think a lot of people get really caught up on credentials and history rather than personality and how a brain works, right? So what we've done now is we've kind of earmarked creativity and curiosity as two things that we have at our like we rank that higher than are they the perfect on paper candidate, right? Like is it uh, so in that interview, like we're getting some really good questions about, oh, well, have you guys thought about doing this, or are you guys selling this product with your product? Like, and like they're challenging, curious questions. I'm like, that personality we know is going to be more of a fit for us than the guy with 17 letters behind his name, but doesn't ask us any questions or doesn't
Yeah,
seem curious about the company at all.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, so we have curiosity and creativity as a higher thing. And I think another mistake people make is they get fixated on did they work in that field before? So we would rather have somebody with people skills and management skills of human beings. And like for instance, one of the companies we hired, she managed a veterinarian clinic. not even the same field, not even the same type of business, not even
Yeah.
close,
Yeah.
right? But creative, really curious about how to make the business better, and a history of managing human beings and moving parts. And that's all your company is managing human beings, moving parts, and widgets.
Yeah.
And you got to separate, sometimes separate a little bit of that. Well, has this person worked in oil and gas before? Well, you have to really weigh how much does that matter for that, especially for that management position. Is it
Right.
the oil and gas part matter, or does it, how has this person managed human beings in the past, and how has this person managed process in the past?
Yeah.
And do you care if it's boxing stuff for Amazon or selling a directional drilling part? I don't know if that is as important as how did they handle human beings, and right. So
Yeah. I just read something that I've heard it different ways, but you can't teach somebody to care, but you can
mhm,
hire people who care.
yeah.
And I
And
think
that's
that's
really
what
what
you're
it comes
talking
down
about.
to, right? Like curiosity is caring.
Yeah.
Um, and then, you know, and personality fit is a big deal. Um, like like I said, I am a cowboy a bit, right? And so in these interviews, you don't want somebody that's going to shrivel up and hide in a ball because of the fact that you're a little bit, firing off the hip sometimes. You do want somebody that will hold that accountable, but that also is like, all right, I can riff off this. I can be creative with you on this, right? And
Yeah.
that's the other part is, and that's something every owner would have their own personality, and so they would have to hire based off of those quirks as well. But I think, yeah, I would just say that people get really overly fixated on years in an industry or letters or what their education background is, and it's not as important. What I've realized is it's actually very little, has very little importance in comparison to some of the other things.
Yeah. I remember I can tell you too many examples of this that I care to, but this one in particular that puts puts the dot on the eyes on this is this guy that I coached for a while. He was a wholesale distributor. He sold supplies to shops and all that kind of stuff, and he wanted to hire a salesperson. I said, okay, so we're going to sit down and develop a system to hire the best possible people. And so I gave him some documents to read over so we could talk about it next week. And I show up next week and he goes, I hired somebody. I found this guy. He's got experience in the industry and he's, whatever, all this kind of stuff. And I said, so how old is this guy? And I can't remember if he's 45, 50 years old. And he was unemployed. And I'm thinking to myself, there's a reason why this guy's unemployed. And within a month or two, we found out, the guy was just not what he said he was.
Mhm.
So here's a good question here is what leadership lessons cost you the most?
Mm. Like you're in like mistakes that I've made as a leader, you mean, that have
Yeah,
cost? Yeah.
yeah,
Um, well, I think a lot of it more comes down to personality quirks than anything. You know, uh, I'm a passionate person, and so, I think my temper is sometimes, caused more damage than good. But probably more than a little bit. Um, the big one is separating taking things personally. That's like when I've taken it personally and I've responded too quickly to an email or too quickly to something that, usually that has. caused, and it usually comes down to just losing the person's buy-in, losing that person's trust in you
Right.
as the boss, right? And so at that point, now all of a sudden that good employee starts to become a cancer. And really it's a lot of it's on you. It's your fault because you didn't take a breath, double check what the email said, and you know, and so one of the things I've learned is, you know, when you get a text message or when you get a message, what I've learned to do is actually call uh, Steph or call Tim, and I allow myself to have the puking fest of visceral come out there, and they're just this safe place to hear it.
Right. Right.
Comes out, and then they can calm down and they go, that's probably not what they meant. This is probably what the person meant by the thing. Just slow down, respond. And that's been, I think, the biggest lesson for me is that just learning yourself, learning that you're an emotional person, uh, and having to like take that deep breath before responding, because I've lost a lot of really, not a lot, but I've lost good people to uh, not um, not being the most gracious in response because I'm taking something personally or thinking it's personal, and maybe that it's just the way it's written. It's hard sometimes in an email or a text, right? So yeah,
Yeah. Text
yeah,
messages and emails, they don't have voice inflection in them.
yeah,
So
exactly.
sometimes you can completely misconstrue what they meant.
Yeah,
Um,
I
I
think
think,
another big one is oversharing the dream. So it's kind of a fine line. You want to share your vision and you want to share where you're going, but you don't want to share too much of the detail, because when it doesn't happen, or it doesn't happen the way you shared it originally, um, it creates uneasiness and uncertainty, and so now um, your people have like this shaky underbelly or the shaky foundation all of a sudden, and it's just because you spoke too much. So
right.
there is an element of going, okay, if it's not a done thing, if it is not like a for sure happening thing, like don't overshare.
Yeah.
Don't overshare. Like you can do that with your trusted leadership team, maybe like two, three people, but as a whole, like when you're addressing the entire brand or the entire group, it's just one of the things I've learned is that I overshare. So it's like I need to, you know, really be deliberate about, unless it's a done deal, don't talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I've experienced that with other clients in the past where, and when I start working with people, caution them about sharing too much about
Mhm.
things. It's for exactly the same reason that you said. Unless you're going to implement it and you have a date to implement it and you're going to follow through on it, don't share it because
Well, it
people,
creates distrust too. Like so, it's like, yeah, we're gonna implement an employee uh, social committee, and we're gonna have an internal social committee that's gonna do Christmas parties and all this stuff, right? And so you talk about it out loud, and then it never happens because frankly, that's probably the least priority thing out of some of the stuff you have to do is this thing, but you shared it. So now everybody's expecting it.
yeah,
And then it doesn't happen. So you've
yeah,
lost, you've lost trust points, right?
yeah,
And so if you wouldn't have said anything at all, nobody would have the expectation. And then if it would have ended up happening, you gain trust points rather than the other one. So
yeah, yeah. That's a good point.
yeah.
So this next question really ties in with the whole what we were just talking about. But from your perspective, what separates a team that enables growth from one that limits growth? So what separates a team from one that enables growth to one that limits growth?
Fear of mistakes and penalizing mistakes. So nobody's going to be the best at what they do. Nobody's going to be perfect. Um, but I'd rather people be enabled to learn and make mistakes along the way and iterate. And so that way we have, maybe we have 100 iterations internally between everybody's mistakes. But look how much better we are.
Yeah.
And so then we do grow. If all you do is you have everybody hamstrung by fear that they don't want to try anything new, they don't want to try anything because if they make a mistake, they are going to be reprimanded for that mistake. So what happens? They will never grow. They'll never try something new. There could be an opportunity right in front of you, and they won't even try the opportunity because who knows? It might not work out.
Yeah.
That would be construed as a mistake. So then everybody's getting reprimanded. So then they don't even follow that.
Yeah.
So I think uh, one is fear of mistakes, like having that iron fist on that, I think is one of the worst things you can do as a leader. And then the other one is managing, like over managing your people. Like we have this thing here where I say to them, I'm like, everybody here is a professional and they're a grown up person. I'm not going to manage your time. I'm not going to be telling you where to be and where to go. My expectation is you're getting your job done and you're doing a good job and you're coming to me with solutions and new ideas. But if I see you drive away at 2 p.m. because you have a pickleball game and you just booked it for the afternoon because you're just, you're on top of your stuff and you just did, all the power to you. I think the, you need to enable your people to be grown-ups and treat them with, allow them to have um, some free will and the ability to riff off each other and the ability to manage themselves and manage their own time. You end up getting a way better group of people in your organization
Yeah.
because if you have to manage them, they're not the right person.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
tells you right now, like if you have to be like, did you do your work today, Sam? Well, then they probably shouldn't be with you.
Yeah. I think
Yeah,
that goes back to what we talked about earlier and having KPIs. So
right.
you know when if they're getting their work done, they're hitting it out of the park, and they're, adding value to your company, then you feel that freedom to allow them a little bit more flexibility.
Correct. Yeah.
So a couple more questions and then we'll wrap this up. And I want you to, don't let me forget this, to do a little promoting of the companies that you have so that people happen to be watching this, especially with your Genie Moving Company. Uh, you
Yeah.
know, everybody's got elderly parents around.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to let you do a little promoting. Um, so I want to ask this question. It's kind of titled around a growth myth. So what belief about growing a business do you know now is completely wrong?
You need money to make money.
Tell me more.
Uh, I think it's a cop out. I think it's one of these things that the people will tell themselves when they're kind of in the infancy of an idea, and they'll go to one person and ask for money maybe, or they'll try something a little bit, but then they'll be like, "Oh, you need money to make money." Well, I bought two companies this year with $18,000 cash, and both the companies are can cash flow probably six figures or more for me if I did take it out of those companies.
Right, right.
So did I need money to make money? Not a ton of it. And,
No,
you know, can you get $18,000 from somebody? Probably, you know, even if you, and then the other one is obsession with debt when it comes to growing. Uh, Cost of capital is what I would call it rather than debt. Okay, so will your investment, so will that cost of capital return to you more than the cost of obtaining that capital? If the answer is yes, and you're going to actually make money from it, do you care how expensive that capital was if you've put that into your, like, if you've put it into your calculation, go, yeah, it's inexpensive, this is expensive debt, but it's going to get me from here to there, then you do it, right?
Yeah.
But I find a lot of people um, obsess about interest rates in business, and they obsess about it like they are with their mortgage, and it's a different thing. With your personal life, yeah, you need to be a little bit more shrewd. But if the cost of capital allows you to act faster or allows you to enter a market quicker, what's that opportunity cost if you don't do it? What
Yeah.
is that? And you really have to weigh a lot more things. And so if it's 12% debt or something, it is what it is. It's allowing me to get into market X. And that gives me the potential for my company to do another $1.2 million worth of revenue.
Right.
Right. So then do you care about $12,000 on $12,000 on $100,000 loan? Or,
Yeah.
you probably don't.
Yeah. That's a
So
good point.
yeah. So those are the two growth things or two myths I feel about, you know, you need money to make money, and the other one is we psych ourselves out with the cost of capital.
Yeah. I agree 100%. Do you want to add to that?
Well, yeah, there's a third one, and the third one is it'll never be perfect. So stop trying to make it perfect. Uh, Bill Perkins talks about he's already made like what 100 mistakes before most people have made their first product. And people get obsessed. They plan and plan and plan and plan. They spreadsheet and spreadsheet and spreadsheet and spreadsheet before they even launch a business or before they even buy a business. And
Yeah.
ultimately, no matter how much you think about it ahead of time, how much work you do ahead of time before pulling the trigger, you're going to get it wrong. You're going to be wrong about something. It's not going to be right. There's going to be a mistake there. And for me, I'd rather make the mistake immediately, 3 months before you did, and
Fix
already
it.
have made and already have made my 15 mistakes and fixed those 15 before you've even acted on buying the company. And now, where's my company now? Because I've iterated that many times, and Bill Perkins talks about it, and it makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
Urgency, urgency is your biggest weapon as an entrepreneur, is
Yeah.
moving quickly and urgently. People that think too long or think too and over analyze are the opportunity is gonna pass you by before you even made a
Yeah.
decision.
Yeah. How many people have had a good idea and just overthought it and overthought it and overthought it, and then they saw somebody who had the same idea and done something great with it?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's just uh, paralysis from analysis or whatever they sort of call it. But and that's why uh, they're called entrepreneurs, right? Yeah, yeah,
I've never heard that term before, but it makes sense.
yeah.
Um, I think perfection is just a form of procrastination myself.
And
Uh,
procrastination's fear.
yeah. Yeah. False evidence appearing real or false expectations appearing real.
Yeah,
Um, two more questions.
yeah.
How did your relationship with time change as your businesses grew?
Uh, it's become more and more valuable. Um, so, and I've become more and more protective of it. Uh, like that. Hey, can I pick your brain for a sec? Can I? And you start to know who are those people, and when your phone rings, you're just like, and so it sounds like being an asshole, but frankly, like you just have to ignore certain things and certain calls because you know that that's going to be I'm going to pick your brain for a sec, and that's going to be
Yeah.
20 or 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Um,
Got a minute meetings? Got a
yeah,
minute? 20 minutes later.
yeah. And so, yeah, you get more protective of your time. That's the big one. And then I feel like way too many entrepreneurs don't value their time well, like dollar wise enough.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
just for instance, I'm in BNI, which is a great organization, right? It's not a horrible thing to be in. Great networks come from it, but so let's say it costs you $2,000 a year to be a member. Okay, but now, so people think, okay, I made $260,000 off of BNI. Okay, that's a great return on a $2,000 investment. You're like, well, wait. You're there once a week from, in my case, it's from 6:45 to basically 9 p.m., 9 a.m.
Right.
So what's my hourly rate? What are we going to call that? Okay, so let's say $500 an hour, right? Let's like, if you really take the amount of time that you're there, so what is the real value? And sorry about that.
That's all right. I can hear
Uh,
you. It just
yeah.
froze there.
And so like I find a lot of small businesses, they don't understand that those hours is an investment of their time and what is their time worth as well. So when you're doing your return on investment, you should probably also allocate amount of dollars to the hours that you spend on that process,
Yeah.
right? Um, so for me, I have the roofing seat for the roofing company I own there. Would I say that if I was strictly evaluating my time and what I price my time at, is the return on investment worth it? Probably not, right?
Right.
But through that network, I've made multiple other deals and I've met some very valuable resource people. And
Right.
so then you allocate what's that worth? What are the opportunities they've opened up to you worth? And then it's worth it
Yeah.
more than well worth it. But I think a lot of people just don't. A lot of small business owners, they don't value their time. They'll do a $65 an hour task themselves, or they'll clean the toilets because they don't want to bring in a cleaner. And it's like, well, so
Go
yeah,
sell $100,000 job
yeah, yeah,
instead.
exactly, yeah,
More than pays for your cleaner.
yeah.
So if you could sit across from yourself, uh, looking back before you started your first business, um, what would you say to yourself?
The first one would be that whole you need money to make money. I'd tell them you've been telling yourself this, and that's absolute crock of shit.
Yeah.
Um, I think the other thing I would have told them is to learn how to network, learn how to meet people and network. It's so much more valuable than you would ever imagine. And
Yeah.
that my my 30-year-old self or whatever, he would not believe that. He would think, no, I gotta be doing the work and getting it done to make money. And
Yeah.
uh, so I would tell him to network, and I tell him you don't need money to make money. And then the other one, I would tell him to read.
Good one. Really good one.
I'd tell
Yeah.
him to
Reading
read,
changed my life.
yeah,
Really.
read a damn book.
Yeah.
And yeah, like just also like uh, sounds like a really boring book, but Craig Crabtree's book on accounting, there, like it's dry. It's a dry read. But holy smokes, just understanding finance and capital allocation. Um, I think the other thing I would tell them at a 30-year-old version of me would be uh, learn the language of finance. Learn the language of finance. Learn what
Yeah.
the definition of every one of those words. Don't be too proud to say you didn't know, like that you don't know what quantitative easing is. Like it's okay. Nobody
Yeah.
does. But I would
Yeah.
start to learn it. Learn the language of finance. Just knowing the language will transform your possibilities.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. You need to understand the numbers. not
Uh,
just on your financial statements, but other important numbers in your
yeah.
business.
Well, and but also macro numbers, macro financial impact things that will end up dictating a lot of things to your business that you have zero control over. So it's really good to understand what when you're watching the news and they're saying, well, the Fed is going to be starting quantitative easing. Well, what does that mean to me? Right?
Yeah, yeah,
Does that mean to people? That means they're printing money. What does that mean? There's going to be a crap load of inflation. What does that mean? So, yeah, yeah.
yeah, cool. Okay, so we just got a few minutes, so I want you to talk a little bit about the businesses that you have and who are your ideal customers.
Okay, well, so the one business is Rapid Roofing and Repairs, which is a local roofing company in Edmonton that does asphalt shingle repair. Our ideal customer are those people that have a roof that needs to be replaced, and want it done with somebody that's actually insured and can warranty the work, and stand by the warranty, and certified to do the work. And then our other really powerful part of the business is actually the fact that we're rapid roofing. So we rapidly will show up to do repairs, right? And when when you have that incident at your house where it's like, I just need somebody to stopgap this, like I can't buy a $10,000 roof right now. I just need somebody to come in, and that's like a $500 show up, fix, done, and at least your house is not getting destroyed and it's being
Yeah,
done quickly. That's something we've really carved out nicely in the city of Edmonton, is that service component, and that goes for flat commercial work as well. But that's a great client for us. Um, and then another business is Pepco Plastics, and that we manufacture small plastic wear parts. And these wear parts are usually used in like pulp mills and oil and gas, directional drilling, and we can also just make any plastic piece that somebody needs. Like somebody needs a to replace a plexiglass on their motorhome or something. Yeah, we can copy it, CNC it, and get a replacement part. We're definitely not cheap because it's all custom. Every single part is a one-off. We're not mass producing thousands of pieces. We come in, we reverse engineer something that's broken and rebuild it and sell it right to
yeah.
that person. So that's a great customer there.
Okay.
And then we have our Magitech aluminum and glass, which is a modular aluminum system that we've developed for uh, the warehouse tilt-up industry for the aluminum and glazing world. And so it's our own system that kind of goes in like Lego, reducing quite extensively the amount of time on a job site for workers, but also in that particular world, the warehouse world, a lot of them are owner builds. And so they're looking at their carrying costs a lot differently than a general contractor would. A general contractor says, like, I get my fee. When it's an owner, they're looking at the $2 million they're paying in interest a month. So if you're saving them timeline on their build, is a massive win for
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
Um, and then we have a Genie Senior Services, and so Genie Senior Services is a it's weird to have favorites, but it's one of my favorites for sure because it's a heart thing. We get to help seniors transition from their original homes to retirement living, and we get to touch every piece of that transition. We get to help them pick what is going to go, what's not going to go. We get to plan their new space for them. We get to get rid of the items that they don't want, and help charities with those items, which is fantastic. We can get their house completely prepared for the realtor, so it's realtor ready, cleaned even. And so now this really stressful time in those families' lives are less stressful. We take care of everything and it's one phone call. Whereas I think most of the competition in the Edmonton area, it's not one phone call. They're, or if you do make one phone call, they're just subcontracting that to another six trades that do what we do. We cover all of it and it's all our employees. And I believe in the brand so much that I'm now the master licensee for a bunch of the American states, and we're launching down there. And we're going to be selling franchise territories down there. So if people watch this and want to buy a franchise in the United States, I can sell those to you, and they're fantastic little business.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I know about Genie because we've talked about that in the past. I think it's a great little business, whether it's something that you want to add to your portfolio or you want to have a little mom and pop kind of thing. I think it
Yeah.
fits all those
Yeah.
markets,
I
but
like Yeah, based on investment, right? Like you can have it as you're a owner operator and keeping it that size, and that'll be that 0 to 500,000 kind of range business. But you can do very, very well for yourself like that.
yeah,
But it also can fit that person that really wants to scale something. And you end up buying four territories and you're doing 3.5 to 4 million a year in revenue. And you can do that quite easily
yeah,
with business as well. So kind of fits all sorts of different people. Um, and yeah, it's a feel good business though. That's the thing. I think that's what um, we like about it is that you get a bit of that heart piece. You really are helping people, and it
yeah,
feels good to help people like that. So
yeah, yeah. I think it's beautiful for that.
yeah,
Uh, from my perspective, knowing what I know about it.
yeah,
Um, so first thing I want to do here, my friend, is thank you for taking this time out of your busy schedule to help other business owners, understand the ups and downs and, how you've worked through them and really letting them know that making mistakes is not the end of the world. And you don't need to be the smartest person on the team. And in fact, if you are, you're probably going to have a hard time.
yeah. You better
Uh,
not be.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I
yeah,
always say that when I do my team building workshops and team workshops, I always say if I need to be the smartest person in a room, you guys are in trouble.
yeah.
It's not because I don't think I'm smart, because I do think I'm smart. It's because my job is to pull out the best in you guys, not for me to, prance around like I'm some kind of peacock.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just going to do this last little bit here, and then I'm going to stop the recording, and then maybe I can just debrief for a minute.
Okay.
Cool. So here's why I love conversations like this. There are lessons you can only learn by doing, by making mistakes, by staying in the game, and being willing to evolve as an owner. And if you're listening to this and thinking, I see myself in this story, just know this, you don't have to figure it out all alone. And if you don't have to learn everything the hard way, I should say you don't have to learn everything the hard way. Growth isn't about working harder, it's about thinking differently, building better systems, and becoming the kind of owner your business needs next. If this episode resonated with you, share it with another business owner who needs to hear it. And if you're ready to start breaking through that glass ceiling in your own business, there's a link in the description. You can book a meeting with me. I want to thank you all for listening and look forward to the next episode. And with that,